Fist flying, no bounds. Podcast kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, stills nights get loud. Big EQB, that's how we get down.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the GRP. We're back on a Thursday. I know. What the hell am I doing on a Thursday when the NFL just started? But it's every Thursday, right? Every Thursday, 7 p.m., I'm right here doing this shit unless something's keeping me from it. So we keep doing our thing and the NFL can do theirs. So thank you if you are here with me. I appreciate you. And you know, I'm sporting the NFL gear because it is the start of the season, the regular season. So, you know, my team's not playing, but the gear has to come out as soon as the season starts. I haven't worn it until now, so here we go. First night with the hat. That's all I wear is hats to represent my teams, but it's okay because that's what I like to do. So we're here on a Thursday. I feel a little weird today. I don't know what the hell's going on. Just within the past little while, I keep getting this like lightheaded kind of dizzy feeling. I don't know why, but I got the drink in hand, so we're gonna try to cure it. We're gonna try to cure it with that. So I got that. I got a backup in case I need it, and I got the trusty smelling salts. We are sponsored by Noctane smelling salts. So, you know, I like to get a good wake up, a good kick in the ass, and with this red cap right here, because it's their most potent, the most potent one that they have, and these things will give you a nice little get going, and that's what I need right now. So we're gonna go ahead and take another. And you know what? I failed last week. I think I shook it a little bit, but I didn't really shake it. You know, you have to shake these things. It kind of gets those things going in there, the chemicals and everything. It's like, that's what gets it going. That's what keeps it strong. I got all kinds of stuff going on right now. So I'm hoping that between this and having a little sip and focusing on talking to everyone here and talking about the things I like to talk about, hopefully that's going to make me feel better. Everyone's probably like, what the hell's wrong with you? But hey, you know what? These are the things I do, and this is how it works. So we're going to get ourselves a nice little boost from Noctane Smelling Salts. Thanks for the sponsorship. Appreciate it again. Ooh. Yeah, there we go. That's the fun stuff. And I know you might be thinking like, what are you doing? These things give you a nice little boost. They wake you up. I only do them when I'm really just trying to focus, when I really need a good pick me up. You know, it's better than a lot of other things a lot of people do. But a lot of power lifters and people like that do these for the adrenaline rush. There's like, you know, I don't know, they talk about like surgeons and stuff like that doing things like this to get to stay, you know, be awake, be alert. It gives your brain and everything else just a nice big rush, and it's good. So that's what I do. I use it a lot for when I have a trip coming up for work. I have to drive out of town. These things will definitely be with me because I get real bad like sleepiness while I'm driving. And that obviously is dangerous. So instead of pulling over all the time when I, you know, hit a stoplight or something like that, I'll just pull these bad boys out, take a good whiff, and it'll get me going. So don't forget to check it out. I have the if I can get my stuff together here. What did I do with it? Here we go. I have a nice little QR code for you here. If you want to follow that QR code, it'll take you to their website. You can order yourself some smelling salts. White cap is the least potent. Black is the mid-range. Red cap is your most potent. Go check it out. I appreciate the sponsorship and everybody out at Noctane Smelling Salts, and for helping me get through my podcast episodes and keeping me awake and alert. And they also put scents to them too, so you can check that out. Go look at their website. It's dope. I like it a lot. I appreciate the sponsorship, and I like the product. I use it every day, and you know, it does what it needs to do for me. So check it out. Noctane Smelling Salts. Follow him on Facebook and Instagram as well. So yeah, that's cool. I like it. And it's fun. So I appreciate the sponsorship. I'm excited about it. You can see the hat in the background back there. Go check it out. So now that I'm awake, now that I'm alert, and I actually do feel a little better. Like, that was nice. That made me, and I'm not saying it's going to make you feel better. I'm just saying I truly and honestly feel a little better right now than I was feeling a few minutes ago, because my chair's like off center. I just noticed that. But yeah, I was honestly a little worried. I'm like, ooh, I can't be like passing out on the show. That would suck. Not that I thought I was going to, but that dizzy feeling, that shit gets you. So I feel better though. I'm going to take a sip. That'll help me feel even more better. And shout out to everyone that's here, even though the NFL has begun and the games are on right now. But we keep going with the Going Rounds podcast. So what else is going on? We have Dana White's Contender Series, of course, every week for the next few weeks. And this season is in full effect. And this week was great. It was good all around. The fights, they started off fun and exciting, and they continued to be great. So we'll have to go over that. And we also have a good fight night coming up this week. Even though it's taking place at the Apex, it's still a good card, a good main event. Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. That's going to be fun. A little bit of news in there, but not a whole lot going on as far as like crazy news. Some UFC Noche news that's coming up, not this weekend coming up, but next weekend. So let's keep our fingers crossed that nothing bad happens there. Stick around and find out why I'm even worried about that, because there's a few things that are happening that might make a few people worried. And if you haven't heard about it yet, I'm gonna touch on that here in a minute. So stick around, check that out. What else? There's a couple other events going on that I'll touch on here. BKFC is having a big event this weekend. Bellator Championship Series is having a big event this weekend, and One Championship's having a big event this weekend as well. So we got to talk about that for a quick second. And then, of course, UFC Fight Night 97 will be at the end, the main event of the show. Always revolves around the UFC if there's fights. Last weekend, there was no fights, so we're back with some stuff to talk about, because last weekend was like, damn, no fights. But hopefully everybody had a good, fun, safe Labor Day weekend. The long weekend is always good and appreciated. And I'm glad that this week hasn't been too crazy, hasn't been too stressful for me, at least. Hopefully everyone else has survived. And yeah, I'm hoping that this weekend coming up is good and relaxing and fun, and just ready to go into the next week, where I am gonna be out of town. So you guys might see me in with a different background and everything like that, but the show must go on. I continue to do it on the road, even a little bit of a different change of scenery, but I try to keep everything good and as crisp as I can. So don't forget to come back next Thursday as well, 7 p.m., same channel, same time every week for the GRP. And yeah, that's it. Let's get into the combat sports news we have for this week. And the chat's open as well, by the way. So I actually forgot to click on it. Oh, Cold Art Maker, what's up, bro? Sorry, I didn't have my chat open. I wasn't paying attention. I'm here, though. I'm here. What's going on? Welcome back, Cold Art Maker, loyal viewer. I appreciate him for always showing up and interacting. So the chat's open. Try to be nice, but it's okay if you have differing opinions. You don't have to be rude about it. So, but we're here to talk about it. So go ahead and jump in that chat. And Cold Art Maker, appreciate you for being here already. Sorry, I was caught up in my intro there. So let's get to some combat sports news, and we'll start with that event I was talking about, UFC Noche. Well, Dana White has promised this to be like the greatest sports event in history, overall, whatsoever, above everything else. So Yeah, and that those are big things to say, and that's a big thing to hold up to live up to. They've spent millions and tens of millions of dollars, 21 million at this point. In 2 days or 2 hours, it might be 25 million. Who knows? But it's now sponsored by Riyadh Season, who puts on all the big major boxing events with all the big names over in Saudi Arabia. Turkey, El Sheikh or El Sheikh, something like that. No disrespect. Sorry, I'm bad with those names sometimes. But he's the head of that and wants all these big events, and so they are in on it, sponsoring the UFC event going on in Las Vegas in the Sphere, promising to be an epic event of whatever sorts. And it's a homage to Mexican fighting because, you know, Dana White seems to have a great respect for all the Mexican fighters, boxing, MMA, and everything else in combat sports. And because it's a Mexican holiday that weekend, Mexican Independence Day, they are celebrating with this big event in the Sphere. So the first of its kind, the last of its kind, according to Dana White. He said it's going to be very hard to top. So we'll have to sit back, wait and see. But the little bit of bad news here is, if you read in the graphic here, it says UFC Noche prices have dropped from 3,000 to 1,000 because the lower level tickets were $30,000 to start. So that's steep. I mean, $1,000 is high enough. But for $3,000 for like some shitty seats that are probably behind a pillar that you're gonna have to look around in order to actually see what's going on, that's crazy. And so they had like the first I heard of it, there was like, oh, there's still 3,000 seats left, and tickets are not flying off the shelves. So now what they're saying is there's like 1,700, give or take, tickets left. They dropped the price down to 1,000 for the cheapest seats. So there we go. You know, I guess if you drop the price, you think you're gonna pull more people in, and that might be the case. It's probably what they should have done in the first place. But they're hyping up this event to the point where they think they can just charge astronomical prices. You know, a lot of people you're already going to be paying more for airfare. You're going to be paying more for hotel rooms. You're going to be paying more for everything in Vegas because it's such. I've already talked to people that are talking about going to Vegas that weekend, and they're like, prices are insane. It's like, yeah, that's because the UFC is promising this crazy event and everybody wants to go to it. So that's just what happens. And you're already getting price gouged everywhere else, and then the UFC is like, let's put up the priciest nosebleed seats you can think of. So that sucks. And I guess they found out the error of their ways because they dropped the price for the seats. So now you can get the cheapest seat at $1,000. And I don't know if that's gonna help, but I'm sure there's some people that were like, I'll pay $1,000, but I'm not paying $3,000. So maybe those people have already scooped up their tickets, but there's plenty to be had. So if you're planning on going, or you want to go, and those prices were too steep for you, good news, they dropped it a little bit. But there's a few other things to worry about. And, besides all of the surrounding prices of everything else to get up there, the other problem is half of the main event has a bit of an issue, and he took some promotional pictures for merch that I guess they're putting out there, Mexican Merab, which is pretty dope. I kind of like that shirt. But the problem is if you could see those arrows and the red circle circling his arm, yeah, he has a spot that looks like it's staph, and that's not good. Now, that doesn't mean that he's gonna have to drop out of the fight. But what it does mean is we may not get the Merab we're expecting. We may not get a great fight, because if he's got staph, he's gonna be on antibiotics. There's like no doubt about it. That's how you get rid of it. It's what you need to do so it doesn't spread and everything else. So if you know what staph is, if you ever had it, it's not good. But fighters have to deal with it a lot because they're constantly, rubbing skin with other people in general that are sweaty and stinky and, maybe not dirty, but like you're working out all the time and you're rolling around doing jiu-jitsu, you're grappling, you're wrestling, you're punching, you're bleeding, you're sweating, everything. So the mats get dirty. As clean as you want to keep them, you still can get staph. And, people get staph for other reasons, but they get it more often because of the amount of sweat, blood, and everything else that happens in the training rooms. And if one person decides to not have good hygiene, it can spread. And they'll usually find those people, pick them out, and be like, hey, clean it up or get the fuck out. At least from what I've heard. So when it comes down to it, unfortunately, Merab has a spot that everyone knows is staph. At least looks like it. So he can say it isn't all he wants, but we'll have to wait and see what kind of a performance he has. And hopefully it doesn't affect the fight overall. But, everyone that's rooting for Merab to beat Sean, it's going to be tough. If, he's got a hell of a gas tank. He's got a hell of a heart and will to continue, fighting through adversity. But what's it going to do to him? You know what I mean? How much is it going to affect him? How much is it going to affect the fight? That's yet to be seen and yet to be known. Let's just hope it doesn't spread, get worse, or hold him back from fighting. We saw Benoit Saint Denis with a spot on his forehead that really, made him suffer in his fight against who was that? Damn, I don't remember who it was. But then we had Islam Makhachev looked a little bit less dominating in his last fight when he had that spot on his leg. There's multiple times, multiple instances and examples of people having staph before a fight and having it affect them negatively. Even though Islam still won the fight, he didn't look as dominant as he usually does. And a lot of that, people are, thinking that it had to do with the staph, with the antibiotics and everything else. So let's just hope that the overall perspective of this is that Merab's fine and he's going to be fine. But with everything else that's happened, the cut on the eye, him posting it and getting Dana pissed, and then him posting this, now, it's almost like what Dana said. It's like he's just trying to piss him off now. So let's hope that, nothing bad comes of it and that he, is good to go and everything works out in the end. What am I trying to do here? I forgot what I was trying to do. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. Okay. So moving on from Merab and all of that, let's get to Dana White's Contender Series Week 4, happening every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Arizona time. So it's pretty early, but yeah, you get about 5 fights or so, and they're all up and coming guys and girls trying to get into the UFC. It's the main way that the UFC finds prospects and their main feeder right now for fighters. So it's been an interesting season so far, with going into the 4th week with all the press conferences, all the drama, some decent fights, but nothing crazy. But this week changed all of that. The press conference wasn't so crazy, but the fights were, and that's what we like to see. We like to see all of it, really. But yeah, with the fights starting the way they did this night on Tuesday, it was good shit. So we had Suk-Yun Ko versus Igor Cavalcante, Jordan Santos versus Will Curry, Austin Bashi versus Dorian Ramos, Eunice Dubin versus Shannon Clark, and Killian Salkild versus Gage Young. Interesting names there for that lineup, but those were the matchups for this week. And like I said, started off with a bang, great fights. And if you don't know, that this is not usually what happens with Dana White, that's how you know there were some good fights, because Dana was happy as hell. And he was so happy that he handed out contracts to every single fight that happened on this card. Everybody that fought, every winner that fought got a contract. So, and we're talking 3 decisions here and 2 finishes, but those finishes were spectacular for 1. And for 2 out of the 3 fights were really, really damn good and interesting and fun to watch. So the last fight was a good fight as well, but it just wasn't as entertaining as the rest. But it was still a good fight in the end, with a good fighter getting a contract. So let's move into kind of looking a little closer at these fights, and we're going to start with a video here, because one of the best KOs to happen in Dana White's Contender Series, one of the most exciting KOs, I guess one of the biggest upsets in Contender Series history happened with Durden. I'm trying to figure out how to say her first name, but anyway, she's fighting Shannon Clark, and we're talking just a fantastic KO that you don't usually see coming from women. I mean, it's few and far between that you see a woman get a huge knockout by a punch and have it be basically a walk-off. I mean, she didn't really walk off, but she didn't need any follow-ups whatsoever. So let's check it out.
Face.
Body with that kick. Body with that kick.
Nasty. Flattened her out, stiffened her up. She was out for the count, put to sleep with her eyes open. Holy shit, that was a hell of a knockout. As a matter of fact, let me replay that and watch it one more time.
Body with that kick. Body with that kick.
Damn, stiff. And you saw she got pushed away, but she went for that follow-up. She didn't need it. She was probably caught in the moment. The ref saw it, did a good job pushing her away, didn't allow her to land that second punch. Look at this dude's face in the bottom left-hand corner. I mean, I don't even know who that is. Is that Mick Maynard? Maybe? But that's Hunter Campbell, Dana White, and God damn it, I forgot his name. The other matchmaker. But anyway, this dude's face in the lower left corner tells the whole story. Holy shit, that was a crazy ass knockout. Dana White was fucking pumped. Jumped out of his chair. Look how.
Never seen a judge's score.
And he's screaming about.
And you better believe Dana White exploded out of his chair.
He's screaming about the how much of an under. She was like 13-1 underdog, and she caught that knockout. It was insane.
For that one.
My jaw is
the
on the
most
floor.
crazy knockout
I cannot believe
we've ever seen
Dana
on
White
this
is
show.
fucking
That
pumped.
is awesome. Congratulations. Incredible.
And I mean, he's so pumped that he's just talking to her through the cage. She's telling him she loves him, and she's just caught in the moment. And Dana White is fucking excited.
You know the phrase, if I was a gambling man. Dana White is a gambling man.
You might as well not even go sit in the back. You're in.
Damn. And just like that, he says, you might as well not even go to the back. You're in. He gave her the contract right there. There's no going back. Like, it's obvious she's getting the contract for 1. And for 2, for him to just say that right then and there, goddamn. I mean, that's how you know you did something good.
Why even play this game? Incredible.
He did it, just gave her a contract right there. He goes, why even go to the back?
Hey, that's got to be the biggest upset in Contender Series history.
There it is. Biggest upset in Contender Series history.
And not only did you win,
You do
Here's
not
the
see walk-off
replay.
knockouts like
Oof,
this from women very
crazy
often.
overhand.
An overhand right to the jaw, out, chalked.
So it cut off there, but that other angle, I saw it later. Holy shit. I mean, you just see that punch come down from her nose, hit her chin flush, and out cold. That was, I mean, that's main event knockout. Fantastic. Just everything. All the good words you can say. And apparently this girl like doesn't have a dollar to her name and had trouble even getting there, you know, getting her coaches there and everything like that. And Dana White's like, I'm hooking this girl up because she did everything right. She did everything we're looking for. She did what you're supposed to do when you come to fight on the Contender Series. So let's check this out a little more. They came out with a fury. Like, both these girls came out punches and bunches, following up everything, going at it with each other. I mean, Shannon Clark came out just blazing, guns blazing. Like, she's throwing punches left and right, throwing combinations and like rushing in with her punches. She wanted to end the fight quickly, and in turn wound up getting finished. You know, it sucks for her that she got knocked out like that, but she put everything on the line. She paid the ultimate price when it comes to the fight. But it was a great fight, and the fact that she hung in there after getting dropped once. As you can see here, Durden actually caught her with that overhand right a couple times. There's a lot of right hands here. Look at that one. I think this is the one that dropped Shannon Clark to one knee. Fucking, it was great. It was great. It was a great fight. I mean, they looked a little sloppy at first, but they honed it in. They started getting some technique behind it, and both of them were landing good punches. But Durden was obviously the stronger one, obviously the more accurate one, and she just continued with the onslaught of punches, you know, landing those big hard rights, and then she gets that final big overhand and puts Clark to sleep, just out cold, snoring. Like, holy shit, it was insane. It was insane. It was a great knockout, and a great way for her to show the UFC that she belongs in the UFC. And she gets the win. She gets the contract. There she is, running away, celebrating with Clark out cold and stiff as a board in the background. That shit, oof. I don't even know what to say. I've seen that highlight so many fucking times now, but it's worth it. It's worth the watch. It's worth the rewatch. It's worth all of it. It was a great way for the second fight of the night on the card, and that's how it ends in the first round. And it was only 1 minute and 13 seconds in. So Durden is now 5-0, gets the UFC contract, and walks away with the big win and probably a lot of extra money. So, moving on to the first fight of the night, or actually, was this the first fight? I don't even know. I don't even remember the order at this point. But Suk-Yun Ko versus Igor Cavalcante. I think this was like the second to the last fight of the night, actually. But this one went to unanimous decision. Cavalcante has that crazy afro going on. It actually almost looks like a wig. He kept pushing it up in the front because it was like probably just getting heavy, and it was coming down into his eyes, and he kept pushing it up, and I'm like, damn, it almost does look like a wig. But I mean, that's his hair. It's crazy, kind of Bruce Leroy-esque, Alex Caceres type fro going on there. But Cavalcante, I mean, a lot of people were talking him up and you know, talking big about him, but Ko was the underdog and comes out with the win. Big punches here landed, gets the win, gets the contract, unanimous decision. That one was a pretty good fight, pretty fun fight to watch as well. Then we move on to what I thought was maybe the least exciting fight, but Jordan Santos versus Will Curry. So this one, I mean, in the first round, they kind of went back and forth, but Curry just looked very timid. He doesn't have the best of striking, and Santos was just there to feel him out, see what he could do, and then get on his horse when he knows what's up and you know, felt what he could do. And Curry is more of a like wrestler grappler type, and he was definitely trying to get him on the ground, trying to really take him down at all times and slow him down, because Santos was just the one putting the pressure on and trying to dominate. And in the first round, no big domination there. It maybe could have gone either way in that first round, but in the second round, Santos came out, was feeling himself. Less than a minute into the second round, just starts shaking his arms out and being like, yeah, let's go, what's up? Like throwing his hands up like, come on, let's go. He was fucking ready. And yeah, he was feeling himself right then, and he put some work in. But at the end of the second, Curry wound up getting some takedowns, but you know, he just kept getting caught with the shots. Santos has good takedown defense, and but Curry was getting a little momentum at the end of the second round. But going into the third, you know, Santos just kept the pressure, kept the accuracy, kept landing punches, and winds up, you know, I just realized I missed one here. I forgot the slide of him winning, but it's okay. We get the point. He got the win by unanimous decision over Will Curry. I think Dana said even that Curry just needs to get some more experience under his belt, work on that striking. But Jordan Santos gets the win. He was happy. He looks like he can be a beast. I don't know what stopped him from really turning it up. Maybe Will Curry had kind of with those takedown attempts, he was keeping him on his toes, and maybe that kind of gave him some pause. But I mean, Jordan's takedown defense was fucking phenomenal. So in the end, he gets the win, he gets the contract, and we move on to Austin Bashi versus Dorian Ramos. This one was a pretty crazy fight, high intensity. Bashi just comes out with flurries, man, and he just comes out running, putting on pressure right away. But Ramos was there to defend, and he was doing a good job of it. They were going back and forth, good transitions, good grappling. Bashi was throwing crazy takedown attempts from far away because he just wasn't able to. It didn't seem like he was able to put anything together to be. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what it was, but he just seemed like he was like kind of shooting from far away, but he's fast. He's quick with it. His shots are quick, and I mean, high intensity. He was getting after it. This was after some, like I said, crazy transitions. Dorian was fighting off and defending well, and anytime he would get taken down, he would, you know, roll around, get back up quickly, or at least get in a better position. But Austin just winds up getting him in a bad position, putting in a choke with that body triangle locked in as well. And Austin Bashi in the second round locks in the choke. There's really nothing Ramos can do, even though he defended well throughout the entire fight and put up a decent fight. Bashi is able to sink that choke in, and he sinks it in so deep and so quick. There was nothing that could be done, and Ramos taps. Austin Bashi gets the win and gets the contract. Sounds like he is a highly touted prospect, and it looks like he was a heavy favorite in this one too. So when it comes down to it, he's somebody to look at, to look out for. He's 13-0 overall in his career, and yeah, he's got an exciting fighting style. So he's definitely one of those guys. He looks young as shit, but man, that quickness, that speed of his is intense. So he's gonna put up some good fights in the 145 flyweight or featherweight division. So be on the lookout for him with that contract. Then we move on to Killian Cell Killed versus Gage Young. So this was the first fight of the night, and actually Dana White got out of his seat, went into the cage, and congratulated both these guys because they put on a war. It was a great way to start the fights, and they basically just exchanged punches and kept it entertaining. And Young was getting the best of Saul Killed, I think it is. It's a weird last name, but he was getting the best of him in the first few rounds, or in the first round and a half ish, but landing good shots. You know, he looked like he kind of wobbled him once or twice there, but Young was looking good early on, and then Saul Killed just started taking over after he got, like I said, he got wobbled a little bit here and there. So, but he started taking over with some good shots, good body shot here. I think he finally got that sense of urgency in, found his rhythm and his pace, and he started landing. Lots of good exchanges throughout the entire fight, though, with the striking. A little bit of grappling and stuff going on too, but overall, pretty exciting fight, pretty fun fight, and Saul killed, winds up getting the win. I got him. Oh yeah, there was this big throw here too. He got this crazy, what is that move called? I can't even remember. My brain is all scattered right now. Shit, I don't remember what that move is, but it was a crazy throw. It was nice. This was a well-timed picture here, so I thought I'd add it in there. But Saul killed, gets the win over Gage Young, and gets the contract. And that does it for Dana White's Contender Series Week 4. We're running through this right now. This might be a shorter show. We'll see how much I get into everything else. But that's probably good, because I don't want to start feeling weird again in the middle of this and then be like, oh shit, I gotta go. We'll just keep taking sips and feel good. Yeah, Dana White's Contender Series heating up again, being entertaining this week. And it wasn't just about the press conference and Dana White talking shit after the fights. The conference went on as usual, but they started with the fighters instead of starting with Dana. And then Dana came on, and I guess they played some kind of crazy promotional thing for John Jones. and of course they brought it up, and Dana was like, did you listen to all the stats? Did you listen to what his what his career consisted of? And he just went in a little bit on him and was just like, yeah, hopefully that ends the talk of whether he's the GOAT or not. It's just like, dude, you just keep going. I want to see how many weeks in a row he continuously talks about John Jones being the GOAT during the Contender Series press conference. I mean, it is funny and all, but yeah. He had a lot of great things to say about everybody that fought in this night, and he was happy with the performances. And as you could tell, I mean, he gave every winner got a contract. So not every night's like that, and it was a good night for the Contender Series. So let's move on to Bellator Championship Series happening in San Diego on Saturday night. I guess it's airing on Max. So if you want to watch, go check it out there. If you have Max, formerly HBO Max, whatever you want to call it. But again, I always say it, Bellator sucks at promotion. They've been absorbed by the PFL, but it's no better. The promotion hasn't gotten better, and it just continues to be a guessing game as to what's happening and who's fighting and when. I mean, if you come across it on social media, it's probably because you follow a lot of MMA stuff, but it's never out there the way that the UFC is. But we have a decent card. Usman Nurmagomedov versus Alexander Shabli, I think. That's the main event for the lightweight title fight. We got Lorenz Larkin, former UFC fighter, fighting Levon Chokely in the welterweight division. We got Douglas Lima, also fought in the UFC, versus Aaron Jeffrey. Sumiko Inaba versus Mackenzie Stiller in the flyweight division for the women. Another former UFC fighter, Yancy Medeiros versus Zora Ivazian. Let's see who else. I think that's about it that I know. I mean, everyone else on here doesn't ring a bell. Jordan Newman, who's 6-0, versus Imam Shafi Aliv, who's 9-0 in the middleweight division. So that's someone's gotta go fight. And yeah, someone's catching an L in that one for the first time. Then we have another undefeated fighter, Bryce Meredith. Oh yeah, I've heard of Bryce Meredith. Versus Jonathan Makaluli in the bantamweight division. Bryce Meredith is 6-0 there. And then we got a couple fighters in the beginning of the night. Alicia Cortez versus Ashley Thiner, who are 0-0. What does that mean? I don't know. That's a bit off-putting that you have 0-0 for a record. So they're just bringing chicks in that haven't even fought before. I don't know. That's it's a little bit weird. So we'll move on from that. That's Bellator Championship Series happening Saturday night as well. I'd assume that one's coming on a little bit later than the UFC Fight Night. UFC is going to start at 4 p.m. Arizona time for the main card. But if you Google UFC events, it'll bring it up and it'll tell you what time it starts in your area if you have your location turned on. That's just what I've learned since I started following all this stuff very closely. But let's move on to BKFC, also having an event this weekend. Actually tomorrow. Right? What's today? Yeah, today's the 5th. It's tomorrow, Friday night. That's right. BKFC's always on Friday night for the most part. And they're having a big women's flyweight championship. Christine Fajeda versus Jade Masan Wong. If you've watched any BKFC, you would know these girls. They have they're big names in the BKFC. And if you're interested, Jade Masan Wong has a great Instagram, and she also has an OnlyFans if you want to seek it out. Also, though, on the card, we have Jeremy Stevens, former UFC fighter, versus Bobby Taylor, which there's some interesting stuff going on there because Conor McGregor tweeted earlier this week that just a promotion because he obviously has a hand in BKFC. He's a part owner, but he said, he's kind of calling out the big names on the card and stuff and saying that who the fuck is that guy? That's how he explained who he was. He didn't say Jeremy Stevens. He said, who the fuck is that guy is fighting against Bobby Taylor? And then he's like, yeah, and I'm thinking that that'd be an interesting fight for me down the road. And Jeremy Stevens responded with, I'm gonna fucking knock his head off. He has no idea what he's talking about or what he's getting himself into. So that's interesting because it's obvious that Conor has a stake in BKFC, obviously, but even before he was, 100% involved, he was big on BKFC. So it sounds like that's what he wants to do after he gets out of the UFC, which might be sooner than later, if he can get into the cage and actually fight. But we'll see if he makes his way over to BKFC and fights for the promotion that he has ownership in. And another side note with that, people who are like, hey, did you really fire Mike Perry? What happened with that? They were tweeting at Conor, and Conor goes, well, have you all seen him around? You haven't seen him, have you? So he's trying to say that he 100% fired Mike Perry. But my understanding is Mike Perry also has ownership in BKFC. So I don't know how that would be possible. But it's funny anyway because Conor said it, and he continues playing that game. And honestly, I haven't seen much from Mike Perry since the aftermath of the Jake Paul fight. So who knows what's going on there? I'm sure we'll hear about it soon because I know Mike Perry's not going to let that slide for too long. He has his own podcast too, the Underdogs podcast, I believe. And I was seeing clips pop up all the time, but I haven't seen anything recently. So I guess we'll have to just wait and see what's happening there. I'm gonna have to go search it out and see what he's been talking about recently. Maybe he took some time off and took some family time or something. Who knows? But it'd be interesting to find out. Dominique Gonzalez versus Kane Tomlinson Jr. Also on the main card. Let's see who else. Jeremy Morrison versus Louis Rumsey. A lot of other people I don't know in the undercards because I do not follow BKFC like I follow the UFC. But BKFC is always fun to watch. I've said it before. I sound like a broken record, but it is the truth. Like, it's entertaining. It can be very fast paced, And, you know, they're fighting bare knuckles, which means you're going to get cut up, which means almost every fight's going to have blood involved. So if you're not big on that, might not be the thing to watch. But if you like an exciting, crazy fight that has what looks like a bunch of, you know, ex-felons fighting bare knuckle and blooding each other up, check it out Friday. I believe you can watch it. You know what's funny is it does not say here where you can watch it. I think you can watch it on, oh, it says free prelims on Instagram, YouTube, and the BKFC app. So this might actually be a pay-per-view happening in Salt Lake City. So who knows? If it's a pay-per-view, you got to buy it on the BKFC app. Prices aren't crazy like the UFC fights are. So go check it out if you want to see some good action in bare knuckle. And then we get to the one other event happening this weekend. And I will preface this by saying this is a graphic that I got earlier this week, and I come to find out. So initially, Stamp Fairtex was supposed to fight and be the headlining fight in this, or at least the co-headliner. I'm not sure, but she got injured, torn ACL, so that fight's off. And then Cade Ruotolo versus Mikey Musumeci was supposed to be a really fun fight in the lightweight submission grappling world championship. And unfortunately, Cade Ruotolo fell ill with some kind of sickness, so he's out of the fight. Everything was up in the air whether they were going to have Mikey Musumeci continue to be on the card. They tried to find him an opponent. They did. And then unfortunately, because it's a difference in weight classes, that they decided to try to make Mikey Musumeci go down in weight. And he missed weight, and he missed his, because they also do hydration tests. So unfortunately for Mikey, he failed the hydration test and missed weight. So they're trying to, the last thing I heard was they were trying to negotiate his opponent to keep the fight on. Bebeto Oliveira was being negotiated as his opponent. A lot of the comments were talking about how he was scheduled to compete at 170, and today he's weighing in for 135, which is why he missed weight, which is pretty fucked up. It says, yeah, that makes no sense, but I guess they all wanted it to be a title fight, so they had to make weight. Poor dude just wants to fight. So yeah, it's like 25 pounds in 3 days. It's crazy. But yeah, the weight cutting along with the hydration test is an issue when it comes to one championship. So, you know, those things happen and it sucks, but it is what it is. We'll see if they keep Mikey on the card. I didn't even look before I got on here, so who knows at this point. It might be a go. I'm not sure. But anyway, moving on to the other fight. Oh, the main event, Jack Haggerty versus Super Lek in the Bantamweight Muay Thai World Championship. So, you know, the one championship higher ups are talking about how they're bringing these high level Muay Thai fights to the US because this is happening in Denver, Colorado. And the last time they had an event in Denver, they had Stamp Fairtex there. She was a hit. Everyone loved her. The crowds were going crazy for her. So, you know, Denver's a good place for one championship, and they do well there. So Jonathan Haggerty is a beast, multiple world champion, and Super Lek fighting in Muay Thai is an animal as well. So that should be a hell of a fight, a great main event. I'll definitely, if I can, I will definitely be watching that, or else I'll be looking for the highlights and maybe watching it the next day or later that night, depending on what's happening. So that's an exciting match there for the main event. Let's see who else we got. Oh, John Lineker, former UFC fighter as well, versus Asa Ten Pal in a bantamweight Muay Thai. So John Lineker moving over to Muay Thai from MMA. That's exciting. Hands of Stone is his nickname because he hits hard as fuck. So we'll see how well that works out for him in the Muay Thai division. Let's see. I don't see too many other people. Oh, Adrian Lee, brother of Angela Lee, is fighting Nico Cornejo in the lightweight MMA division. And that looks to be about it that I know of. So there's your card. Tomorrow night, live on Prime, Amazon Prime, so you can watch that if you have a Fire Stick or whatnot. Yeah, check that out. I believe it's free as long as you have a Prime membership. And yeah, there should be some good fights on there, so check it out if you're into one championship. Like, as you could tell, there's grappling, there's Muay Thai, there's MMA, so there's all kinds of different types of fighting going on here, different styles, so, and different weight classes. You got atomweight women's MMA, which is 105. So those are the small girls. It's exciting. And you got all kinds of other divisions going on here, so go check that out. Let's move on to this weekend's UFC Vegas 97. Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. I'm excited for this one. I feel like this is going to be a great main event. Both these guys are always involved in great fights, exciting fights. Sean Brady is just one of those guys that moves forward and has fun doing so. I'm trying to see. For some reason, I thought they had fought before, but I think they might have been scheduled to fight once before, but it didn't actually happen. So now they are fighting each other. Gilbert Burns, still high level, still one of those guys to look out for, but a vet and definitely a fun fighter. Looking at the prelims, we got Andrde Petroski versus Dylan Budka in the middleweight division. And that seems to be one of the biggest fights down there. Petroski's a beast and definitely someone to look out for. Isaac Dulgarian versus Brendan Marotte in the featherweight division for the prelims, the featured prelim. Andre Lima versus Felipe Dos Santos in the flyweight division. Jacqueline Amorim versus Vanessa Demopoulos. That's interesting. That's going to be a good fight. Demopoulos is just a ball of energy. Amorim, though, has brought some great fights that I've seen before, and both of them are very easy to look at. Demopoulos is a former stripper / exotic dancer. She wrote the Stripper Bible, so that's interesting. She's the one that jumps into the commentators' arms when they come out to interview her after wins. She's done it to DC, to Bisbing, and to Rogan a couple times, so it's pretty funny. But Amorim as well has a very nice Instagram, so go check that out if you're interested. But she's also a great fighter, so that should be a good fight. That's the third fight of the night. Some good fights down there at the bottom. The middle gets a little iffy, and then that takes us to the main card, which I feel like is going to be a pretty fun main card for the most part. And we start with Rongzhu versus Chris Padilla in the lightweight division. Rongzhu's 24, Chris Padilla's 28, so pretty similar there. We got 25-5 for Rongzhu overall, 1-2 in the UFC though, so that's a tough record for the. Wait, hold on. What the hell am I talking about? How did I mess that up? Well, I messed that up. So disregard the UFC record there, because he's actually 3-0. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. He's 3-0 in the UFC. So disregard that typo, or I don't know. I could have just screwed up. I'm not sure. Anyway, he's got these are Road to the UFC. So this is like the Chinese version of the Ultimate Fighter. So he's 3-0 there. Oh, I see. This is what it was. He was in the UFC before. He was 1-2 in the UFC for official UFC fights, but then he went to UAE Warriors, won there, and then was in Road to the UFC, Shanghai quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals, and won in all of those. So technically he's on a 4-fight win streak, including winning the Road to the UFC season 2. But previously he was 1-2 in the UFC. So that's what it is. That was confusing. That makes more sense now. He's 14-0 in KO TKOs. He's never been stopped by punches or strikes. So that's something to look out for there. 7-1 in submissions and 3-1 in decisions. There we go. That makes more sense now why it says 3-fight win streak. I was like, man, I am confused, or I really screwed something up. But Chris Padilla, 14-6 overall, 1-0 in the UFC. And he's got 7-1 KO TKOs, 5-2 by sub, 2-3 by decision. So losing record in decisions there, but not by much. And he's coming off a win in his only UFC fight over James Yontop. And that was a win by submission in the first round, rear naked choke. So he's definitely got the submissions. Rongzhu, though, with the 14-0 KO TKOs, that's a lot. So he's definitely got some good striking. And then Padilla, his last win, only win in the UFC by rear naked choke there. You can see how deep and how tight that was. So looking on the ground, Chris Padilla looks to be strong there. But Rongzhu is definitely good on the feet. Should be a good battle to start the night for UFC Fight Night. 90, what the hell did I say it was? 97. I'm being dyslexic. I'm on 79. Moving on, second fight of the night on the main card, Trevor Peek versus Yanal Ashmouz. Both 29 years old. 9-2 for Peek, 7-1 for Ashmouz. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but 2-2 for Trevor Peek in the UFC, 1-1 for Ashmouz. 8-0 by KOs, TKOs, 4-0 for Ashmouz. So, I mean, very similar records here. Submissions, Trevor Peek doesn't seem to go to the ground a lot because he has not been submitted there, nor does he have any submission wins there. 2-0 for Ashmouz, and then 1-2 by decision for Peek, 1-1 for Ashmouz. They're both coming off a loss. Trevor Peek is coming off a loss to Charlie Campbell. And he also lost to Jose Mariscal. He came from Dana White's Contender Series as well. So I always like to point that out because, again, I've said before, Dana White's Contender Series has put out a lot of good fighters that are in the UFC now and have been for a little while, including a few former or current champions. So anytime I see that they were on the Contender Series, I like to point that out. Let's see. Ashmouz is coming off a loss to his only loss, actually, to Chris Duncan. Before that, he was undefeated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-0 before he met Chris Duncan in the UFC, and is now 1-1 in the UFC. That was a unanimous decision loss, though. So that was back in July of 2023. So yeah, I mean, I feel like Trevor Peek's one of those guys that's fun to watch. I heard somebody call him the human Mountain Dew because he's like crazy energetic, and he's got that look. His haircut, his goatee, the look on his face always. It was funny. It made sense. So moving on, we have Matt Schnell versus Alessandro Costa. Matt Schnell is one of those guys that you hear a lot about, but for some reason it doesn't transfer when you look at his record. I mean, he's 6-6 in the UFC, but Costa's 2-2. So they both have 500 records in the UFC. 16-8 for Schnell overall, 14-4 for Costa. They got the invert of wins and losses on KO TKOs. 2-5 for Schnell. More losses than wins in the KO TKO category, so that's tough. And then Costa's the opposite, 5-2. 9-2 by submission though for Schnell, and but Costa's 6-0. So this could be a fun ground match here, with both of them looking to get a sub. 4-1 by decision for Schnell, 3-2 for Costa. Schnell's coming off a 2-fight losing streak though, with losses to Steve Erceg, who just fought for the belt, and then lost his follow-up fight though. So he's 0-2 now. So but Erceg is a beast. We all know that at this point. And also lost to Mateus Nicolau. So He's on a 2-fight losing streak, and both of those losses were by KO. So his last win was by a technical submission, and that was back in 22 against Sue Madarji. So yeah, I mean, he definitely can lose by KO because that's how he's coming off those last 2 losses. And Costa is one of those guys that can bang. So this might be the way that he finds a win. Why? Hold on. That's weird. So it has it here as Cody Durden. I hope something didn't change, because that's what happens sometimes. I like to look this up again, because you never know what changes on the fly. And some of these websites keep up to date, and some of them are behind. So it's always good to double check everything. And I didn't notice this before, so let me look and see on a different site, because it's saying he's fighting Cody Durden, but it doesn't look like that's the case. Canceled bout. Oh shit. Okay, well, here we go. I guess that bout Costa pulled out, so now he's fighting Cody Durden. So there we go. And that's the fun of doing a live show, because you never know when this stuff's gonna change. It can change while I'm talking. So and if it's pre-recorded, I guess that could happen too, but I could edit it. I don't know. I like going live, so it is what it is. But he's fighting Cody Durden, which could be a better fight actually, but maybe not for Schnell, because Cody Durden is 6-1 in KO TKOs, 5-4 in submissions, 5-1 by decisions. He's 5-4 overall in the UFC. He is coming off a 2-fight losing streak as well, so just like Matt Schnell is. He's got losses against Bruno Silva and Tigor Ulanbekov, and those, one was a KO, or one was a TKO, one was a submission. So yeah, maybe this is a better fight for Schnell, who knows. But in the end, he's not fighting Alexandre Costa, he's fighting Cody Durden. So my bad, but it is what it is. That's the cost of going live, and I'm okay with it. Let's move on to Steve Garcia versus Kyle Nelson. I feel like this is going to be a great fight. Steve Garcia has been super exciting in his past few fights. And Kyle Nelson's just a dog, and he's there to fight and there to win. So they're both similar in ages, 16-5 for both of them overall in MMA, 5-2 for Garcia, 4-4 for Nelson in the UFC records, 13-1 for Steve Garcia in KO TKOs. So there's a stat you can look at, and that stands out. Kyle Nelson 6-2, 0-1 for submissions for Garcia. Nelson has 4 wins and 1 loss by submission, 3-3 in decisions for Garcia, 6-2 for Nelson. Steve Garcia is coming off a 4-fight win streak, and Kyle Nelson has a 3-fight win streak going. So similar all the way around, but that KO TKO stands out quite a bit for Steve Garcia with 13 KO TKO wins. That's fucking, out of his 16 wins, he's got 13 KO TKOs. That's insane. And his last 4 wins are by TKO and KO against Song Woo Choi, Melon Quizel, Costa, Nurin Becky, Shailin, and Chase Hooper. All KO TKO wins, none of them going past the second round, all of them within the first 2 minutes of every round that he's won in. His last loss was by KO against Mahashate Izayar. That was a first round KO as well. So I mean, he's a Dana White's Contender Series guy too, which is weird. He got a win in the Contender Series. He went to LFA, so maybe he didn't get the contract, and then he got pulled up to the UFC, lost his first fight. But yeah, Steve Garcia comes out to either knock someone out or get knocked out. He's coming guns blazing, ready to go. So that's something to look out for in this fight. As you can see, he's winging those punches, but he's getting some power behind him, and that's how he's successful with it. Kyle Nelson, nicknamed the Monster, is on a 3-fight win streak. Blake Builder, Fernando Padilla, and Bill Elgio. Pretty good names there for him. 2 by unanimous decision. The last one against Bill Elgio is a TKO win in the first round. So before that, he went to a draw with Doo-Ho Choi and losses to Jai Herbert and Billy Quarantillo. So yeah, I mean, a lot of decisions there on his record in the recent past, but I don't know. I feel like this could be a damn good fight. Everything I've heard from him in all of his pre-fight interviews and stuff, he sounds very very focused and very ready. So we'll see what kind of fight this turns out to be, but I feel like it's going to be a good one. And more than likely staying on the feet. So moving on to the co-main event, the women, Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva. And as we know, Jessica Andrade, a former strawweight champion, and she's moving up to flyweight 125 to fight Natalia Silva. Jessica Andrade is 26-12, a lot of fights, 17-10 in the UFC, 10-5 by KO, TKO, 8-4 in subs, 8-3 in decisions. She's on a 2-fight win streak. Natalia Silva's a little younger, 27. She definitely looks younger too. 17-5 overall, 5-0 in the UFC, trying to hold on to that undefeated record. 5-1 by KO, TKO, 7-2 in subs, and 4-2 by decision. She's obviously on a 5-fight win streak because she's 5-0 in the UFC. And Jessica Andrade, though, like I said, former champion in a lower weight class, but she's on that 2-fight win streak with wins over Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodriguez. So this is a nasty punch against Mackenzie Dern. She made Dern look like an amateur in this fight when it comes to striking. Mackenzie Dern just reverted back to her old ways of rolling around on the ground and not knowing what to do on her feet. So luckily she's bounced back since then. But yeah, she got a TKO over Mackenzie Dern in the second round in this fight, and then she got a win over Marina Rodriguez, split decision win in her last fight. There's another big punch against Caitlin Chukagian, though. She did go on a 3-fight losing streak against big names, so Erin Blanchfield, Yan Xiaonan, and Tatiana Suarez, before she's got back in the win column with this 2-fight win streak she's on now. She's good on the feet. She's good on the ground. She can slam the shit out of you if she goes back to those days of slamming people like she did Rose Namajunas. Rose is on her like a spider monkey and trying to get a choke in there, get an armbar or something. And yeah, Andrade just dropped her on her fucking head with her neck all twisted and basically KO'd her with that slam. So she's capable of all of it. She's got a winning record in submissions. So there's something in, she's dangerous everywhere. It's just a matter of what fighter is going to come out there. Is she going to come out being that fighter that's well-rounded and ready to go, or is she going to come out just off? Because that's just what happens with her. She's either full on or just off. It's weird. But former champion, so she's got that mentality, and we'll see what if she continues on that win streak, or if she takes an L and Natalia Silva keeps that undefeated record. Natalia Silva's got good kicks. She's kicking all the time. So you can definitely watch for that. We'll see what Andrade does to defend against that, whether it's going to open up takedowns for her or what. But Silva's, again, on the 5-fight win streak. It's actually more than that, because after her UFC wins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she was on a 6-fight win streak before she got to the UFC. So that's 11 fights in a row that she has won overall. Jasmine Jasdovicius, Teresa Bleda, Victoria Leonardo, Andrea Lee, and Vivian Araujo were her 5 wins in the UFC. She has 2 by TKO and the rest by decision. Before getting to the UFC, she had a lot of submission wins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 submission wins before getting to the UFC. Gets a decision, gets 2 TKOs in a row, and then her last 2 fights have been by unanimous decision. All of her decision wins are by unanimous decision, though, so that's good for her. That means she looks good all the way through the fight. But it was a big kick again against Andrea Lee, which you could tell she was bloodied up already. And oh shit, I pushed the wrong button. But Silva's got kicks and punches, and she can submit you too, because she's got a lot of submission wins as well. So good, well-rounded fighter, younger than Andrde, and on a crazy win streak, undefeated in the UFC. So will she keep that undefeated record, or will Andrde be able to, you know, with the experience and being a former champion, will she be able to take that O away from her? I guess we'll see. It's a good co-main event, good fight for the women. I think it's going to be a good one. So check that out, and we will move on to the main event. Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. Like I said earlier, I'm excited for this fight. I think that co-main's going to be good, but I think this one's going to be great. Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady, both great fighters, both fun fighters to watch fight and exciting. Gilbert Burns fought for the title before. Sean Brady's just one of those guys, man. He looks the part, he plays the part, he is the part. He's a tough motherfucker. So, and he looks that way. Gilbert Burns is one of the nicest dudes ever. I met him at the Fan Expo last year. Didn't go this year, but I met him last year. He was cool as shit. He talks to you like you're, you know, his friend. He's a very nice guy and a great fighter. So 38 years old for Gilbert, getting up there in age, but Sean Brady's 31. 22-7 for Burns, 15-7 in the UFC, 6-3 by KO TKO, 9-0 by sub. Never been submitted for Gilbert Burns, and if you look at Sean Brady, he's got a 5-0 record as well by submission. So he's never been submitted either. So with both of them having wins by submission and never been submitted, that could be a fun grappling / you know, jiu-jitsu game on the ground. I know people get turned off by that a lot of times, but I think if you get high-level grapplers down there, it's going to be fun. So that could be one way that this goes, but both these guys like to stand and bang too. So who knows? If it winds up on the ground, they both have great records down there. Gilbert Burns 7-4 by decision, 8-0 for Sean Brady. Never lost by decision, never lost by submission. Only one loss by KO TKO, and that's coming off of that loss. It's his only loss overall and in the UFC, and it was a tough one for him. So Gilbert Burns, though, good striking. I mean, landing big punches against the former champ. He is on a 2-fight losing streak, but these are big names. The current champion, Belal Muhammad, he lost unanimous decision to, and then after that, he jacked him out of Elena. He lost by KO, knee and elbows in the 3rd round. So he's looking to bounce back, get back in that win column, and turn it around against Sean Brady, who only has one loss overall in his entire career. But I mean, Gilbert Burns has fought all the big names. Like I said, the current champion, Belal, he lost to. Jack Della Maddalena, he lost to, but he has wins over Jorge Masvidal, Neil Magny, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia, Gunnar Nelson. Lots of big names. You know, he lost to Kamaru, he lost to Hamzat, but he gave Hamzat a great fight. That was a hell of a battle that he had against Hamzat Chimaev. So, I mean, he's game. He's ready to fight on the ground, on the feet. Doesn't matter. Gilbert Burns will put it all out there. And it's just a matter of, you know, will he come out on top or not? So, Gilbert Burns is one of those guys I like to root for, but I like Sean Brady a lot too. So it's tough. It's one of those ones that's up in the air for me. And I'm just excited for this fight overall. And I'll definitely be trying to watch this one live because it's just obvious. I'm excited for it. I don't even know what else to say about it. Let's move to Sean Brady. Again, only one loss in his career overall. Oh, he's coming off a win. Did I say he was coming off a loss? I might have. He's coming off a win over Kelvin Gastelum. That was a submission by Kimura in the 3rd round back in December last year. His only losses to the current champ, Belal Muhammad. So, it's not too bad for him right now. That was a TKO by punches. He's got wins over Michael Chiesa, Jake Matthews, Christian Aguilera, Court McGee. So, he hasn't fought the same big names that Gilbert Burns has fought, but he's only got that one loss to the current champ. So, it is what it is. Sean Brady's a great fighter and one of those guys that's game for everything. And he has never been submitted, has 5 wins by submission. So, if it goes to the ground, he definitely can play that game as well. His last submission win was, again, his last fight against Kelvin Gastelum with that Kimura. So, looking forward to this one. It's going to be a great one. There's him. He's landing a big punch on Belal Muhammad there. Even though he lost that fight, he still got his in on Belal, who's the current champ, as we all know. So, there it is. I didn't make any picks. I've been bad at making picks. I don't know why. It just hasn't been working for me. And even though I'm not betting on it, I still haven't been making picks. I don't know why. I got to get back to it because I started to do it today and then I got sidetracked and decided, screw it. I don't want to rush and have to do it. So I didn't. But check it out. Saturday night. UFC Vegas 97 should be a good card. I'm looking forward to the main card especially. And there's some good fights down in the lower prelims. But yeah, other than that, once again, brought to you by Noctane Smelling Salts, my new sponsor. Watch last. Why isn't it? It's not wanting to. There it is. Good focus. Noctane Smelling Salts. Go check it out. I'm not sure if you watched last week, but if you didn't, here you go. It's my first sponsor of the podcast. Check out, scan that QR code. It'll take you straight to their website. They have a Facebook and an Instagram. You can go follow them there as well. Good information overall on both those sites and on their website. Very nice, clean website as well. I like it a lot, and I like their product a lot as well. Smelling salts, it's good. Good wake me up, good alertness. So check it out. Thanks again for the sponsorship. Appreciate it. If you're on their webpage, on their main page, if you go all the way down to the bottom, it says proud sponsor of the Going Rounds podcast. You can see my logo and my QR code, all my socials down there. Check that out as well. Just nice to see on someone else's page they're promoting me and stuff, so that's cool. Appreciate that again. Thanks again to everybody. Hopefully, if you're here watching or if you're watching before, I appreciate that. I know football started. Everyone's excited for the NFL season, so the first games always bring the most eyes until we get later on in the season. So if you were here watching, I appreciate you. Thanks again to Cold Art Maker in the chat. I know he might have gotten deterred by the fact that I didn't answer him right away because I wasn't watching the chat. That's my bad. Usually I am watching the chat though, so if you're in here, don't be scared to throw in your 2 cents as long as it's not crazy or too rude. But yeah, you can always listen to me audio only anywhere you get your podcasts, but especially on Spotify. It has the video and the audio only version. So check me out there. Don't forget to follow all my social media. It's been going on down there and in the other page throughout the show. So check it out. I have an Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, and then like it shows down there. I'm sure you saw it. Spotify. Find me there. Follow me there. And you can listen to audio only as well. So check that all out. I appreciate everybody. Thanks again. Come back next Thursday for a recap of this weekend's UFC Vegas 97. And then we'll be previewing UFC Noche pay-per-view 306. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to have some guests here in the studio for a watch party. Been trying to get these guys together for a while. It's finally happening, so I can't wait. And I think it's going to be a fun night of fights and a crazy event. So check it out. Be on the lookout for that promo of the watch party. Come back next week to hear about all of it. I'm out of here. Thanks again. Take it easy. Enjoy the fights. Peace.